Call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Osborne,
Here.
Bentley,
Here.
Lund,
Here.
Euler,
Here.
Kushner.
There. Approval of the minutes from 6/27 of 22.
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. City Council work session minutes from 6/27/22.
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
And a proclamation.
Did, is-
What? Yes, I'm sorry. I
Okay,
didn't
that's
answer.
okay. I'm like,
Sorry.
there you go, sir.
Okay, proclamation, Parks and Rec. Month. Danielle and everybody you want to bring up. Whether they want to or not, right?
I know.
You gotta come up to. Okay, Parks and Recreation Month proclamation for July of 2022. I told you that. Warrensburg Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout the country, including Warrensburg, Missouri. Whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes the time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's disease. And whereas Warrensburg Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition service, and education, and whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through the increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas assure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas the city of Warrensburg recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore be it resolved, the Warrensburg City Council designates July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month in Warrensburg, Missouri. You know what pictures you need?
Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
Whereas,
Huh?
there's 12 whereas.
I know.
That's a record, I think.
Take a breather in the middle next time. Okay, first and second readings of ordinance. First and second reading of an ordinance approving a replat of Cahill lots 190 and 191 by Miss Carroll.
Marion City Council, this is a lot split of two lots that are in the northwest corner of the Cahill subdivision. One of the lots, the one 191A is the new name of that lot. There is a house currently on that lot. There is not a house on 190A, the 1302 Estates Drive. What the plat does is move the interior lot line, a portion of the line between the two lots. Further to the south, it drops it down at an angle so that 1302 Estates Drive will be slightly smaller and 1304 will be slightly larger and have a bigger side yard. The developer and engineers have made the changes that staff has requested. Planning and zoning considered this at their meeting last week, recommended approval as presented, and staff has prepared the ordinance in front of you this evening. We would recommend approval for first and second reading if it is your pleasure. Be happy to answer any questions.
Was there any community feedback on it?
No, we've not had any.
Okay.
Plats don't require public hearings, so it appears on the agenda, but there isn't a letter or notice that goes out in advance to the property owners surrounding.
Oh,
This is on that new section, the last section.
This is on the far west end on the north,
Okay.
where they put those larger lots in. So your most recent phase is on the other end, on the east, around the lake.
Right.
This is not in that part. This is on the west, up there by Owen and Estates.
Okay. Motion, please.
Move to pass that ordinance to second reading by title.
Osborne,
yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Okay,
Said bill was approved for a second reading. This reading is for adoption or rejection, an ordinance approving and accepting the final plat of Cahill, a replat of lots 190 and 191, a subdivision in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, located at 1302 and 1304 Estates Drive. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
yes.
Thank you.
Now, ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a depository contract and pledge agreement with Equity Bank. That's Marcella.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For you this evening is the depository contract. We had solicited bids and received two, one from Equity Bank, our existing depository, and one from Central Bank. Equity has offered a guarantee of 2% interest on our bank deposits for the period of 2 years, which is currently meeting and or exceeding what you can get in an investment return for any investments that we might be able to use our funding availability. And they've also reduced the fees associated with it. The other option was to do like a 90-day T-bill percentage, which right now is fluctuating and there's no guarantees on how much money that would earn. So the projections of net earnings was greater using Equity, and Central Bank was using the same type of percentage with the 90-day T-bill as well in their proposal to present that. And then the fees were higher through Central Bank and some other requirements that they were requesting for us to do. So I'll be happy to answer any questions and respectfully ask that this go to first and second reading so that at your pleasure.
I do have one question. What does the pledge agreement mean?
So part of state statute requires that our deposits be pledged at a minimum of 100%. Actually, the city requires 110%. So like the FDIC insures the money at $250,000. So anything greater than $250,000 has to be pledged. So there has to be some sort of a collateral that the bank is willing to make sure or ensure that the city's $1 million, for example, is covered. So that other $750,000 has pledges against it. And that pledge has to be 110% greater than the deposits that would be required.
Thank
So
you.
if something would happen, then we would be guaranteed our money because the
Thank
collateral
you.
against it.
Anything else?
Is there a timeline on this? Is that why you want to take a second? reading?
It's required by state statute to be adopted in July. I mean, it doesn't have to go to second reading tonight. It can wait if there's more questions or if you think that there needs to be some more review of this by yourselves or other public input. I've not had any questions.
Okay. All right. I just wanted, I did, okay. You answered my question. Thank you.
Anything else? Motion, please.
Move to pass that ordinance to second reading by title.
Yes, you got it.
I've been practicing in a mirror.
That's why I let him do it. I'm not sure of it yet.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a depository contract and pledge agreement with Equity Bank. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we have a resolution. Resolution approving Children's Memorial Grant Fund Grant application. That's you.
And that's me. The chair of the Memorial Fund, Nancy Anderson Park and Children's Memorial Garden Advisory Board reached out. They had received an application for a grant to help with expenses of a headstone for their child of $750. And so we brought it to the council. Money is in the budget, has been budgeted for the FY23 budget. There is money in the account. It's just needs approval at this time until after October 1 of 2023. Does that make sense? Okay, sorry. Said that kind of awkwardly. Have any questions? Further questions? No.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Okay, good. Yeah.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, appearances to the council not listed. Okay. Mr. John, I'm sorry, Cahill.
Should I?
Okay. Sorry.
My name is John Chalet, and I'm used to hearing all kinds of,
I'm sure.
throughout school and work and everything else, I'm used to hearing. So whenever I know my name is supposed to come sometime soon, I kind of listen for anything that sounds close to what it is. So thank you for letting me talk tonight. I live on Laurel Drive, and I'm a resident of the city, and I'm assuming most of you are. So, and if the rumors are true that I've been hearing, most of you have had problems with garbage recently, pickup. And I've talked to my neighbors. It was 24 days from one pickup to the next. And various people, neighbors, people I know from other parts of the city told me, well, we called, they're going to pick it up next Wednesday, or they're going to pick it up Friday, they're going to pick it up whatever. And like I said, it took 24 days for them to come around and pick it up last Saturday. And meanwhile, people were taking their garbage, and when they went to visit a friend in Lee Summit or Sedalia or something, they took their little bags of garbage to their friend's house because their garbage can here was filled. And then other people, I heard from somebody who works for the city, are taking their garbage to dumpsters on city property and in some businesses, and again, pulling up to the dumpster, taking their bag out and dropping it in the dumpster. And then people that aren't taking them someplace else, they ran out of garbage cans. Some of them had 3 or 4, but ran out. And so we're putting out plastic bags with garbage in them. And unfortunately, cats, dogs, raccoons, possums, foxes, everything else that around was getting into the bags. And so some of my neighbors were actually going out every day and cleaning up their little mess in front of their house. What can be done about this? Now, I was told that because the garbage companies have to sign some agreement with the city, have to, I don't know, they need a permit to pick up garbage here, but there's no contract, so there's no way the city can do anything about this. I was told today, I was talking to somebody at City Hall, and they're told, well, there's people know there's a problem, there's discussion, but this will take time to fix.
Yes, it is an ongoing problem. Yes, the city has been in contact with Republic. Enrico or Barbara, which one of you want to help me out on this, please?
Yeah, I can give a few pieces of information. Danielle, city manager, Danielle Doolin, and I met with, I was looking here, Dylan Pearson, the general manager out of the Jeff City office last Tuesday morning, as well as another individual in his office who I don't see his name at the moment, but he was the operations manager, and met with him again, and Ms. Doolin was very frank in the city's frustrations. And we continue to meet with them and be told that things are improving. They're doing routes differently, they're hiring, it's employee issues, it's truck issues, what have you. And things maybe get better for a few weeks, and then they're bad again. And so she was very honest, very forthright in the city's frustrations. And they told us again, all the things that they have been telling us, that they're working on it. He did say a couple new pieces of information. They have moved us out of the Kansas City territory and into the Jeff City territory, because Jeff City is used to dealing with gravel roads, rural routes, rear load trucks instead of front loading trucks, that they're more familiar with our market specifics than a Kansas City office was, where they have front load. They don't have a lot of gravel roads in Kansas City and rural routes. So that is new information we received in that meeting, and they felt that they have addressed their equipment and their truck issues. So if the truck goes down, they now have backup truck to put into service the same day. So he felt that was better, but bottom line, they continue to have employment issues and keeping people on the job and getting CDLs hired. Same as most everybody has those issues right now. The reason we're seeing the problems we're seeing right now is that since April, they have lost employees. And so that's why, as staff, we felt that some parts of the city, it's not universally true across the whole city ever, but we thought we saw some improvement in March or early April, and it has noticeably gotten worse again. And so he said that was, they have lost employees since April. Really, again, other than to give us new points of contact to call when we have huge failures in areas that, I mean, it was just the same information we've been getting. As far as the information about the contract. It's true, the city does not have a franchise agreement with any trash hauler at the moment. It is an open market. There are other trash haulers that can be, individually contracted with. They're all individual contracts. So there are other options in this operating in the city at this point, all this under a business license. The city has no franchise agreement, no contract with any of them. We did give notice at the end of February, February 29th, that state requires a 2-year notice. And so we gave our 2-year notice that we will be looking into a franchise agreement in the future. So that clock started running on February 29th. We have issued the RFP, which is a request for proposals to solicit a consulting firm that will assist us in doing a solid waste management plan, so that we, at the end of that, can write a contract to go out and bid for those services, and hopefully at the end of that 2-year period, have someone to put under contract. That RFP to hire the firm to do the feasibility study and management plan, that RFP has been out for a couple weeks now. I believe it's due at the end of this month. I want to say around the 25th. I can't be certain of that without looking, but it's online, and those proposals are due here before the end of July. And we will be bringing that forward then as soon as we can to council to select that consulting firm and get the study done. Hopefully, first or second quarter, be done with it, first or second quarter of next year, so that then we can move to prepare those contract documents and put that out to bid, so we are ready to hire someone beginning of March of 2024.
That's where we're at right now.
If you have a contract with these people, that means that there will be some penalty for them, like there is for us, if we take garbage and dump it in their yard or do something. I mean, there's an ordinance that has all these specifics about us putting out garbage. You can't put it out more than 12 hours before it's picked up. We're supposed to bring the garbage in, the can in, after 12 hours, within 12 hours of the
Right.
being picked up.
And right now, the city, that has been discussed and we are,
Can I speak to that?
yes, sir.
The city does not have any regulatory control over the day-to-day operations of trash haulers present. The process that Ms. Carroll described would put the city in a position to have that
Yeah,
regulatory
that's what I
authority,
was asking.
but we don't have that regulatory present.
So you can't do anything now, but hopefully with the new contract, if they don't come around for 24 days, they'll get penalized somewhere.
Unfortunately, the state requirements are such that the city is prohibited from adopting that regulatory control without this 2-year window of time.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah, the RFPs are due 10 a.m. on July 25th.
Okay. We're doing the best we can with this.
well, that's what we've been doing with our garbage. We've been doing the best we can.
And I would
We share
say,
your frustration, sir.
And
There are
some people are
certainly-
kind of fudging and, taking it someplace else. And I mean, I don't blame them, because I mean, walking around the neighborhood sometime in the last week or so, you kind of walk along and go, whoa, I'm next to somebody's garbage.
and
Right.
certainly the city is not, I don't want to promise this, because we do not have much clout or inroads with Republic either.
Yeah.
But in instances where we are aware that for 1 or 2 weeks, the city is not going to try to intervene, but we do know we've had areas that have been more like 4 to 6 weeks. And in those times where we become aware of it, so if you're getting that kind of timeline, please do let our code enforcement inspector know, because we do attempt to let Republic know and try to escalate a response in those areas. I make no promises, but we try. Because 4 to 6 is certainly, we've had that on some apartment complexes and some commercial properties, and that can be very detrimental to neighborhoods and health.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sally Zellers. I got your name right.
So thank you for that information. That was very helpful. I also like to thank Jody Schneider, City Clerk, for talking with us earlier this afternoon about the issue. And all of this is very helpful information. There's two things that I want to ask though. John mentioned it very briefly. The city ordinance that says when we are to put the garbage cans out and when we're to bring it back. I understand that there is somebody who would go around and issue code violations periodically related to garbage. Given that these problems are happening, is there some sort of communication with that officer when there are parts of town that are clearly have not been picked up, so that individuals do not get cited for being in violation of the garbage ordinances? In other words, my entire neighborhood had garbage cans out for 3 weeks.
Right,
So technically, we were in violation of that ordinance, which really makes me uncomfortable because I don't like breaking the law.
right.
So how do you as the city communicate that to law enforcement or code enforcement that that issue needs to be looked at before any citations are given?
Again, Barbara's in charge of those people in code enforcement, and
So we have one individual who's a code enforcement inspector that would be the person who enforces that particular piece of the code and would issue a violation letter. And so she's out all the time, every day, Monday through Friday. So she is generally very aware of an area that is going on 2 or 3 weeks of not being.
So it's clearly not our fault.
So she's usually aware of it. And she is aware that of all these issues, she gets the majority of these phone calls. And we have not been issuing violation letters. So they're not tickets, they're not citations, but they'd be a violation letter.
Warning letters.
A warning type letter.
Okay.
And if some individual did receive that, I'm not aware that we've been issuing any of those for going on almost a year now that we've been dealing with this. Because she knows that, and she and I have talked about, and I've given citizens the same answer I've heard her give, which is, if you have a Monday trash day, you put your trash out for Monday, and it didn't get picked up on Monday, you need to just leave it out until it gets picked up. Because if you bring it back on Tuesday and they pick up on Tuesday, you just miss trash for your week. Like, it's so inconsistent.
Right, yeah.
Like, I had one guy who's like, well, I bring it out every day and they miss it and I bring it back. I'm like, dude, you need to just leave it out there because your whole neighborhood is gonna get picked up and you're not gonna get picked up. Because it's so, you just never know what day they're coming on. So she and I have talked about that, and I don't believe any violation letters for that have gone out in the last year. If somebody did get a letter like that, they would need to call her at that number on there and explain the situation. And I think that would be the end of it. But our instructions, to my knowledge, what she and I have been getting is put it out and leave it out. Now, we do get phone calls then from other people in the neighborhood saying, so-and-so's trash has been out for 3 weeks and they're only supposed to have it out 12 hours before and 12 hours after. And we explain to them, this is a much bigger issue. In the interest of getting trash picked up at all, people need to leave it out at the curb until it's picked up, and we're not enforcing that until the service from the provider is more reliable. So it's a valid concern, but basically we are just not enforcing that piece until we have reliable service to offer them.
Makes me feel a little bit better for my neighbors. I guess the next issue is recycling. Now, I understand from Jody Schneider that recycling will be part of the plan that you described of this waste.
So the plan that we're asking the consultant to work on for us over the next 6 to 9 months will identify what options we could offer for recycling and be successful at. Some of that will be a public, I assume, either a public survey, online survey. Somehow they will have to gauge the public's interest in, would we be more successful with drop-off locations, or would we be more successful with curbside? Which would be more utilized? What would the volume be? What would the cost of providing that be? So there's a lot of issues to look at there, but it will be part of the study. And several things are included in that RFP. I may not catch all of them, but yard waste, recycling. We've asked for bulky waste pickup. If that could be more regular than the 2 times a year, the city offers it potentially. What would the cost of that be? I think we added hazardous
We've
waste
also
in the
added,
last round.
yeah, we've also added household hazardous waste into the scope as well.
And then I think we've added food waste and compost. So we, if we're going to do this, we want to be very comprehensive. And
Well,
when
makes
we
sense.
do that, because those agreements tend to be 5-ish year agreements. And so when you lock in for 5 years, you want to get it right.
And then the last thing I just wanted to address was, or ask the question, or is the yard waste? I mean, I drive by the dumpster every day with hopes that I can put my yard waste in there. And it is often, overflowing. Is there any chance before this stuff gets settled that there'd be more opportunities to put yard waste?
This is one I don't know a lot about. We're looking at a RICO. I doubt that we could increase the places. I think we're having it serviced twice a week currently. Is that right?
Looks like about once a week when I drive by this dumpster, and then there was the place over near the fields that is permanently closed.
Well, that is open as a response to storms. So if we have a large storm come through, or we have a lot of tree damage, they tend to open that for a 2-week, 3-4 week period, just to allow people to clean up from the storm. But for an all the time, always available, we just have the one site.
For what it's worth, I'm willing to pay for this stuff, and I used to pay for it with Heartland Waste, whatever it was, $75 for the year, and between April and November, especially when the leaves fall. And now I have, no options, and I have 8 very large trees on my property, and I gotta do something with the leaves. So, but anyway, thank you for helping me with that.
We're working on it as much as we can.
Okay,
Is
thank you.
there information, phone number on that sign sheet?
Oops, sorry.
Did I put, no, I did not. put-
No, you
No.
did not.
I put it when I gave to you.
And
but
I-
can add it,
Okay.
yes.
I was gonna say, she gave me a lot of information today to follow up with her.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, next we have miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. And first off, I'd like to make a couple statements about the recent participation by the police, fire, and other city staff on the threat that they had at the hospital on Monday or Friday. I think it was handled very well. Enrico kept the council well alerted on what was going on. I've received 6 phone calls of support from citizens. I had one lady that got mad because the hospital didn't have anybody answering the phone during the incident. But it was like, okay, but I believe it was a measured response to a measured threat. Things went well. Major Munsterman called the right amount of people, the right amount of time. We learned what we knew from previous drills at the hospital of communication issues in there. We're working on that with the new radio systems. I think it's a great deal that they were able to come in, investigate it. Nobody got hurt, and we found out where it all started from. And then working with everybody that comes to help. It's called mutual aid. And it's also the right thing to do. And again, it happened on Sunday. There was a large duplex fire on the northeast corner of town. Chief Jennings said he had all but one truck there. And how many from?
3,500 or so.
And from the fire district and the fire district's auxiliary there to help. Again, that's the community coming together and taking care of stuff. So just want to thank the public safety guys and the people at City Hall that have helped through these trying, difficult couple of days. And Enrico's first acting city manager job. Okay, anybody else?
I was gonna say, I want to thank Danielle and Erica. She walked out. There were citizens that had concerns about park situations, and Erica and Danielle pulled together a community members meeting, informational meeting. They shared information and they're working on solving some of those problems, coming up with an action plan to kind of combat some of those issues. And so I just want to commend them on their speedy efforts to put that together and get everybody in so they can hear their concerns. So.
Anything else? Okay, Director of Finance report. Lady with all the money. I hope.
I am pleased with the revenue stream that is coming in, you know, as outlined in the director's report. Revenues are exceeding last year's receipts and, you know, exceeding budget, even more so than the anticipation, you know, because we knew they were going to go up a little bit, but they've gone up a little bit more. Sales tax revenue for July has continued to, you know, show that improvement of those receipts compared to last year. And even though the use tax is going down, it still is right at budget. We anticipated that to go down, but the use tax receipts are currently meeting budget through the month of June. Gasoline is always on our minds, especially with the cost of gas right now. But apparently the gas tax, as you recall, is done by population. And there's not been a whole lot of reduction in the amount of consumption across the state. So we're still getting increased amounts of the gas tax, and effective July 1 is the additional 2.5 cent increase in the tax. So starting in September, because it runs a full month behind, we will start to recognize the receipt of that additional 2.5 cents as well in that whole distribution piece, because the ratios change. During budget work sessions, we talked about the proposed initiative for the 1% sales tax. And Administrator Doolin asked me to ask if there was specific priorities that the council would like to see us pursue in those initiatives as we talk about that sales tax and request of our citizens to do that. So if there's anything that you want us to focus on as a priority for that 1 cent over and above what we've talked about for public safety, it would be appreciated if you'd let one of us know what those priorities are. And even the 23 budget, if there's something that you didn't hear discussed or brought forward that you want to make sure that we focus in for 2023, if you would please let me know so that we can include that in our budget departmental discussions as we finalize budget, and that will be presented to you all as a draft and an additional work session, the first meeting in August. So you'll see the preliminary numbers for that 23 budget before it comes to first reading at the second meeting in August. Lastly, got notice today on the property tax calculations. And so the State Tax Commission certified the consumer price index at 7%. However, the statute only allows a 5% increase in the consumer price index as we look at that. So depending on where we're at with assessed values, we may look at having to roll back levy again, like we did last year after the reassessment. Hopefully not, but just keep in mind that we don't get that whole benefit of that consumer price index based on current statutes, that you'll only see a 5% increase. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions about what's in the finance director's report.
Sounds good. City manager report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I don't have anything new to add. However, interim police chief Munsterman will be able to provide a brief on the hospital incident, just for your all's consideration.
I've been dealing with this since Friday through the weekend. With the phone calls. Everybody wants to know information. I've given the correct information to everyone involved. Some people don't like that I've given that information, but this came in as an active shooter, and it came in not only as an active shooter, but then moved to an armed and barricaded. And us as law enforcement, that's some of our worst nightmare, including fire and EMS, and everybody came together and worked really seamlessly to handle business. This was the best possible outcome we could have ever asked for. There was none. And on top of that, I don't want anyone feeling like they can't call 911 in these types of situations. Please make those calls. But we're looking into the whole investigation and kind of seeing how it all unfolded. And it went from one call to active shooter to armed and barricaded. And that's why it was dealt with, the situation was dealt with the way it was. As soon as got the information, as soon as I got on scene, I called Enrico and kind of let him know what was happening, and let him know that if I was able to inform him any further as soon as I could, I would. Otherwise, we were dealing with the situation. So try to keep everyone updated as soon as possible. I feel that we did that well. There's a lot of areas that we're going to discuss and see where we can improve on between fire, EMS, police. We're having a large debrief on Wednesday with law enforcement at 9 a.m. on campus. Yeah, so if you have any questions for me, I'm here. I'll answer anything that you have. It was a bad situation, so.
Yeah. The person of interest that you reported.
So the person of interest, we have looked at everything on that. And
Okay.
we don't even know where that came from, so to speak. There's some information that is out there from the hospital side, but we never located any threats at this point in time. We're looking at social media stuff, some that still could come in. At this point in time, that person made no threats whatsoever. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. And again, everybody did a great job. You know, the city pulled together with all the extra help and even Public Works and the people at City Hall. So.
Yeah, I can't thank employees enough, between fire, Public Works to EMS to City Hall staff. I mean, very stressful situation, and everybody kind of realized that, I think, and stepped up. So
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I would like to add that interim police chief Munsterman did serve as officer in command. And so he had a lot of stress on his shoulders at that time and still remained calm, cool, and collected enough to kind of deal with me and give me those reports. So I do appreciate his efforts. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Enrico? And Danielle back there, anything? Ken?
Just to expand a little bit further on what you mentioned earlier with our fire on Sunday, we've talked the last several months about our staffing and training and drivers and things like that. And I believe Sunday was a good example of the progress we've made over the last 6 months. In January, we had, like I mentioned, we had 30 people there. In January, I don't think we had 30 people on the department with the vacancies that we had. So we made a lot of strides there. We had 4 drivers in January. We had 7 apparatus there, so we had 7 drivers. We're up to 12, 13 drivers now. So that progress is showing in what we're able to do. The challenges yesterday with a little bit of a breeze, the hot temperatures, obviously, but where the fire started on the outside of the building with vinyl siding and the pink insulation foam board on the backside was pretty much gasoline once it started going. So it was a very quick moving fire. But those actions and decisions and getting those apparatus on scene quick made a huge difference in the outcome of that fire. The other thing I wanted to point out, it's not uncommon for us when we're on scene operating that the public gets involved in some way. A neighbor or something brings water or offers to use the restroom or something. Yesterday, just the size of the fire, obviously it caught a lot of attention, but a lot of folks in that neighborhood brought water, ice, hey, come cool off in my garage, come watch TV, whatever. There was a huge outpouring of that neighborhood up there offering their support. So just wanted to publicly acknowledge that, and we appreciate that support.
Very good.
Thank you.
And for the man's last council meeting, do you have anything to add?
Only the fact that being here the last 6 years has been a great experience. I've enjoyed every minute of it, all the relationships that we built, and all this.
Will be missed, Greg. Barbara, anything that you haven't already talked about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'm sure.
That's always.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, next we have mayoral appointments. Number one, to reappoint Sarah Burton to the Children's Memorial Fund Advisory for a 3-year term, and appointing Brian Jacobs it says director.
They were directors at
Okay.
Parks and Recreation.
I knew that.
They're labeled directors.
Do them separate or,
Pardon me?
do we do them separate or together?
I don't know. Do we do
Council's
them
pleasure.
separate or together?
Council's pleasure.
Okay, then we'll go for number one, Sarah Burton, Children's Memorial Fund.
To approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner,
Yes. And number two, Parks Department, Brian Jacobs.
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I read a really long proclamation. Close meeting, vote to close part of this meeting pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri relating to legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving the city and any confidential or privileged communication between the city and its representatives and its attorneys, operational guidelines, policies, specific response plans developed, adopted, or maintained by any public agency responsible for law enforcement, public safety, first response, or public health for use in responding to or preventing any critical incident which is or appears to be terrorist in nature and which has the potential to endanger individual or public safety or public health, and records that identify the configuration of components or the operation of a computer system, computer network, telecommunications network, and will allow for unauthorized access or unlawful disruption of a computer system, computer network, or telecommunications network of a public government body.
Good job.
Call.
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what I said.